This podcast is protected under the laws of the United States and other countries. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition may result in civil liability, criminal prosecution, and the wrath of the tall man.
Boy! Hey, let's talk about you, the ID10T community events at ID10T.com, like Russ Stevens, a.k.a. Cool Movies Darth, who has started a podcast called 90 for Chill, which Russ says is dedicated to movies with a runtime between 74 and 99 minutes, the time frame that I feel is ideal. Russ, I could not agree with you more. That is a fantastic idea. Russ goes on to say there are times you need a cinematic fix but don't have time for the latest Scorsese masterpiece or offering from a comic book universe. There's also times when you know you need a conclusion to prevent a binge costing you a whole night. My guests and I try to follow these guidelines as we chat up features that are definitely worth your time and are beyond easy to make time for. 90 for Chill, the podcast, can be found on all major podcast platforms at 90forchill.com, and that's spelling out 90, N-I-N-E-T-Y, 4 F-O-R, chill. So there you go. Thank you so much for sharing, Russ. Really great idea for a podcast. Events at ID10T.com for everyone else.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Thank you for checking out 90 for Chill, the podcast with CatBusRuss. This is your host, CatBusRuss. And for Veterans Day, I decided it was time to try getting the band back together to discuss 2017's experience that is Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk. I have Sam Marsh on the podcast this week. You may remember him from our Men in Black episode. And this is really a discussion of, I would say how important being cinematic is, and if that's honestly the philosophy you should go with. I'm more of a story, subtle guy. Tarantino didn't go huge with direction, I'd say, until Kill Bill, that kind of thing. So is the cinematic experience essential for everything or just a few things? So that'll be the primary angle of the discussion, and I hope you enjoy.
The enemy tanks have stopped.
Why?
Why waste precious tanks when they can pick us off from the air like fish in a barrel?
There are 400,000 men on this beach.
Coming back round. He's coming back round! Where are we going? Dunkirk. I'm not going back. There's no hiding from this, son. We have a job to do. If we go there, we'll die.
Practically see it from here.
What?
Home.
They don't make it as easy as it was on Zoom at one point. Like, you had a red button. I guess for incrimination purpose. Right. I guess for incrimination purposes, they just know that the old rule, never hit the red button. So,
sure.
All right. Well, this is 90 for Chill, the podcast with CatBusRuss, and this, I guess, would be our Veterans Day episode. I meant to do this film a while back, some miscommunications, but yeah, I guess they got to really work on that on Mastodon to create a better chat feature, but I digress there. So we are going to tackle Dunkirk from 2017, I believe. Christopher Nolan's follow-up, I guess you'd say, to Interstellar. And with me to go on this journey is Sam Marsh, who you may remember from our Men in Black episode. So this is a gentleman who knows spectacle, I suppose.
Familiar with it at the very least. Hi.
So, anything new in your life, Sam? Because it really wasn't that long ago that we did Men in Black.
Yeah, it was a couple months ago, I guess.
Yeah.
Not really. Same old. Just working. I might have a creative effort I'm getting into. I don't know if it would be something I'd want to promote on a podcast like this, but if we do another one, I might have something to plug at that point. But this time it's just going to be just hanging out, just talking.
All right. Oh, very cool. We all good. I mean, I'm a guy who grew up in a town with 4 strip clubs, so I appreciate a good tease. So
sure.
All right. So let me hit play on the movie to try to give us an idea. So this is a movie. Well, I don't know. I would say with Christopher Nolan, he had quite a stretch for me, I guess. I did not see The Prestige. I think that was just bad timing, or everybody was trying to time things correctly, I suppose, because you had the Illusionist come out not too far after.
Yeah, that was a weird kind of. It happens a lot, those copycat sort of movies.
Right.
And I think that was one of them.
Yeah, I mean, 98 was a big year for that, with Deep Impact and Armageddon, and then you had Ants in a Bug Life. So, right. Yeah, it's Christopher Nolan. I mean, I don't know, I go back and I don't really see too many of his movies in theater. I'm going to be honest, and he'd probably tell me I'm not a good... He's a
pretty big cinematic director for sure.
Right. And that's kind of my kind of a thing I have that I'm not a fan of, especially when he was very much about, oh, you have to see Tenet in theaters. And I know that just didn't seem like, if I kind of knew what the movie was going to be, that'd be different. But
yeah. Tenet, I think, I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's one of his weaker movies.
Right.
Like the Dark Knight stuff was pretty good theater movie. I mean, Inception, I honestly haven't seen that one either. I need to see that one. Everyone has.
Well, he does back up his statements, definitely at times. I would say Inception is something I wish I would have seen in theaters.
Yeah.
But I was not a fan of The Dark Knight. I'm not saying Heath Ledger wasn't excellent in it. I'm just saying that, it really, one of those classic, like, you don't know what I guess it's just a curse of Batman where the director doesn't know what Batman is. If you go back to Tim Burton, like, with a Batman who smiles as he detonates bombs on people and such.
Yeah, I guess both of them missed the mark on either side.
Right. Yeah. So, like, no meta-human concepts at all. It kind of like, and he just wasted, and the Dark Knight just wasted Harvey Dent. So, like, I have
a very specific bone to pick with Harvey Dent in that movie, which is like, his face is too realistically smacked up. Like, you wouldn't be able to live like that. Your mouth would dry out. Like, like there's so much like exposed flesh inside of his face. It's ridiculous.
Well, that is ridiculous, but I would say that my bigger concern is just the fact that he only gets probably less than 10 minutes once he becomes Two-Face, and then it's like,
Yeah,
And
there's that too.
And the movie's a little long. I don't think we needed the Hong Kong trip. So, but look at me cursing movies that are too long again with the premise of 90 for chill.
Well, it's a place to do it, I suppose.
And he's not that great. Like I can't say he was ever a great action director. Like he knows how up until The Dark Knight, he knows how to frame it, but he doesn't really. I would say not until Dunkirk can I say that. Well, no, I'm sorry, Inception. There's some great set pieces, but a lot of it's more surreal. Like when you think about Inception, everybody talks about the hallway fight, and then it's kind of like, well, everything else is kind of just there. So I don't think he's a great action director, I'd say. And we're going to talk about Dunkirk, so we'll figure that out. Interstellar, I didn't get around to seeing. It just seemed like way too much stuff. And then I guess maybe I just didn't care for the lead roles. Like, I don't need Matthew McConaughey talking about space. I need him talking about surfing, I suppose. So miscast. I didn't get out to see it.
Hey, maybe watch Beach Bum. That's a pretty okay movie.
All right. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? It's pretty much just that. It's just him just being.
Yeah. I'm familiar with that
movie.
Oh, there's another movie I got to get around to seeing, Killer Joe, which just
sounds familiar. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, just him as I think a hitman, and it's just very. I guess it's supposedly very graphic. I mean, but I guess that one kind of came around the same time of Killing Them Softly. So just in that Killing Them Softly is a highly regarded movie now, but it was an F on the audience score. So, so yeah, Dunkirk I really came across because of the Rewatchables podcast with on the Ringer Network, hosted by Bill Simmons, primarily the guy who created the Ringer. They had Tarantino on for 3 episodes, and he picked 3 movies. None of them his, because that's Tarantino. He loves to talk about everybody else's stuff. Like, there's no commentary tracks for his movies, and I think I can't remember what director called him out on it. Like during one of the commentaries they were filming, probably Eli Roth. Like, hey, why don't you like doing commentary tracks? So, actual cell phone call during a commentary track. So, so it's kind of like, well, I guess I got to see Dunkirk then, and then.
So Tarantino talked about Dunkirk on that one of those episodes you mentioned,
right? Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I can't remember the other 2. So, and I guess you could say what you'd like about Tarantino's direction. I don't think he really became a great director until, well, you see hints of it in Kill Bill Volume 2, but I wouldn't say till Inglourious Basterds. So, otherwise, I mean, great screenwriter. Probably the best of the generation. But
I don't quite know how to pick them apart. I like Pulp Fiction a lot. I think it's a lot of fun. I can't find any fault in the direction there, personally, but I'm no expert.
Well, I mean, he didn't like. There were no challenges, I guess, to his to the scripts he wrote when it came to composing action sequences. So, and once you get to Kill Bill, where you have the crazy 88 fight, like that's where you kind of. A lot of it for Tarantino, and I think he'd even acknowledge it, is that he impersonates a lot of styles.
For sure. He tends to kind of make pastiche
right,
based on something he likes.
But to Tarantino's credit, he usually does films that foreign films that he rips off from. Like
older films.
I mean rip off in the most respectful sense, but like the end of Reservoir Dogs is ripping off John Woo's tendency to get the Mexican standoff in, and nobody really did a Mexican standoff in American cinema by that point. Kill Bill, a lot of it is Lady Snowblood, a Japanese revenge movie that he takes from. So, but yeah. So when it comes to Christopher Nolan, my favorite Christopher Nolan movie is Memento.
That's a good one. I like that one too.
Yeah, and I saw his first feature, feature following, which is this nice and simple. So it's kind of like the first movie I saw from him was Insomnia, 2001, the remake of the Swedish film. And that's fine. That's a fine movie, but nothing spectacular. The main thing is Robin Williams and Al Pacino acting against character, and Hilary Swank trying to become box office after her Oscar win. But nothing that's, you're not really gonna miss anything if you skip Insomnia.
It hadn't occurred to me before, because right after that was Batman Begins in 2005. Right, I didn't quite realize how much of a breakout that was for him.
Yeah. Oh, commercially, I mean, Memento. I mean, obviously, Memento made him the hot director, but he didn't really get any projects of his own, I guess you'd say. As I say, until The Prestige.
I thought Memento was his. Didn't he write that?
Oh,
too?
yeah, he wrote. Yeah, so Memento was his breakout, and then it was basically, okay, Hollywood wants you, and then they didn't really give him anything until The Prestige, is what I'm saying. Like Insomnia, you're going to remake a Swedish movie. Batman Begins, don't screw up this comic book movie. And then Prestige, which I mean, there's so much stuff I really need to see that movie. I mean, as a guy with a David Bowie tattoo, I better get around to it.
You haven't seen it at all, The Prestige?
No, I've seen like the beginning. I think it was more or less my ex-girlfriend wasn't really getting into it when we started watching it. So yeah, one of those things.
It's a little slow, I think. I liked it though. I've seen it a couple times. And yeah, Bowie's in it playing Tesla, I believe.
Right.
Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman, both very strong leads.
Yep.
Yeah.
With Dunkirk, I didn't really plan to go see it because, I'm kind of, I don't really want to say passive, or like, I can't really say I'm that passive. I'm a professional wrestler, underemployed, but you throw me a payday, I'll be there. I got tights in my trunks at all time, in my car trunk at all times.
That'll be ready.
Right. But so yeah, and going through my iTunes is just how I purchased Dunkirk when it got down like $8 at one point. Oh, I got to do that. So it'll probably be cheap this week with it being Veterans Day. Not to discredit veterans, I guess, but
I think it's still $8 cheap. Actually. Okay. Earlier, like $8 isn't bad though for a feature. 4K.
No,
yeah.
Oh yeah, right. So I don't really know. I guess I was just killing time, and I ended up finally watching this movie, years after I purchased it, which that's I mean, at least digital movies are cheap. I own so many video games I haven't gotten around to playing. That's an entirely different mess.
So this one, it's certainly less action packed than the Batman trilogy and other things. Even certainly Inception and maybe even the Prestige kind of. That was not very action packed either. Well, I was gonna say like it's still a good theater movie because there's so much like music kind of ratcheting up tension and so many scenes.
You see, my thing is, I wouldn't say it's the music. I'm just saying this is an experience. Like, it doesn't have to be grandiose action. Like, this is one I really wish I did see in theaters. As I say, I just didn't I'm not a big fan of like watching war movies just because I think we're glamorizing it in a sense. Like, oh yeah, let's this keep continuously. No, it is not. But I mean, in the 80s was a good decade because we're bouncing off Vietnam, a war that we lost. But when you go back to World War II, the Greatest Generation bollocks and what have you, like this was the last great. I mean, hate to say it, World War II is the last great war. The only war I could say was justifiable in a sense. You had a genuinely evil guy in Hitler.
Oh yeah,
and he was
one of the
making
greatest
it
bad guys ever.
Right. He was making it everybody's business. You're gonna have to fight this guy. It's not a a group of Saudi terrorists based in Afghanistan, and then it's like, well, there's no country to fight, so or Kuwait, which I think was a good decision, but it was about liberating Kuwait, and then we left Saddam Hussein. So it wasn't so it ends up being an oil war. Same thing with the second Iraq war. Not to sorry, I'm going on a rant again. Veterans Day, and
I will admit I am not a history buff, so I can't really weigh in on that type of thing. I was hoping for the other guests to show up and be able to carry that a little better than I can, because he was a little more passionate about this movie, right?
Well, John was a history major, and he's also a veteran, so it'd be right. He had a lot of stuff to offer. We will get back. I talked to talking to him. It's like, okay, we'll get to a war movie marathon.
Oh, there's plenty of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting though, the dynamic with veterans. Like, my last episode I recorded was last weekend with Andrew TD, Couchman Bakes. Great TikTok if you're for stoners and stuff, but he served, I don't recall how long, and we got into a discussion about how I was I was in college when the trade centers got hit, and it's like, oh, we declare war in 2 days, I'll be like my grandfather and grandfathers, I suppose. That might be giving my mom's deadbeat dad a lot more credit, but regardless, it's like I would have enlisted, like that's my duty. But we took a month to lick our wounds, and then again, there wasn't really an enemy. I mean,
right?
Nothing that couldn't be solved with some drone strikes. But but he, I invited Andrew. Hey, you want to come on? And it's like, no, war is a little too real for him. So it's kind of interesting. And my dad's kind of the same way.
He doesn't like doing war movies,
right. My dad's kind of the same way. I can't get him to watch anything violent. Well, he'll watch professional.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I love the dynamics of people and how people take stuff. I mean, that could be a podcast on its own.
I think about that a lot. Like, I think, what if I experienced some real violence? Would I be as okay, like, watching things and like playing games that have this stuff? Probably not. It's such an odd thing to pursue it, and then unless you see the real thing, and then less keen to experience that.
So yeah, I haven't even really gotten around to my notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it's but what I was getting at is Dunkirk, and my dad did see Dunkirk in theater, so I think my mom actually. My mom's just a big Anglophile. She recently just got back from Elan a couple weekends ago, so this is kind of up her alley anyhow. But yeah, it's
very English.
Oh yes, definitely. But it's I mean, it doesn't have to be an action movie, because Nolan masterfully captures the experience. So it's not about the action.
Timelines, as he does.
Right. Well, and we'll get there. But it's like it's not about action, it's just about the story. And you get some intense sequences. Right now, nothing too intense. In my peripheral, we did have the bombing of the beach, but otherwise
it's very sparse. You get shot at a little bit at the beginning, bomb the beach. There's a little bit of dogfighting, a little bit of shooting later, but it's pretty light.
I do appreciate the Michael Caine cameo as one of the pilots, actually.
Fortis leader.
Right. And I'm a big mark for Tom Hardy. I think he's he makes decisions. He makes decisions with every performance.
Always fun when he gets to while out a little bit.
Right.
Less so in this, more so in Bronson and Venom.
Yes, precisely.
Fun performances.
Right. And actually, Nolan hired him for Inception, not based on Bronson, which he thought he was. It was based off Rock and Rolla, the Guy Ritchie movie. Well, it's an interesting that's a fun one. It kind of deals with degrees of toxic masculinity, but
sure, it's present in a lot of Guy Ritchie.
Right, but Tom Hardy is I think Beautiful Bob, and the premise is guy he's going to go to prison, and like the night before he's going to go, our lead, I guess, would be Gerard Butler, is like, okay, we're going to have fun. I got girls lined up and everything.
Yeah.
And we'll do whatever you like. Right. I don't want the girls. I just want to hang out with you. And I think that's probably lessening it. But, basically you find Gerard Butler just then finds out that Bobby is gay.
Oh, okay.
So it's like the awkward experience of like the guy, and then later on,
I didn't realize the movie was about that.
Oh no, it's not. It's honestly a cluster muck of a story, but
yeah. Well, I didn't even know that was an element in that movie. I knew it was like Guy Ritchie. I knew, I think I knew that Gerard Butler was in it, but that's basically
right.
it.
Right, your typical clever criminals, or so-called clever criminals just fumbling along, which is Lock, Stock, and Snatch.
Yeah.
So, but Idris Elba is in that movie as well, and he's like, "Dude, what's the big like? You didn't know?" So it's just a fun. There's a great comic elements in that movie. Yeah, it is a fun movie. So, all right, getting to the notes finally. So, iTunes, I think classified this as an action movie. I think it's probably more drama, but
yeah, it's hard to. Yeah, I wouldn't exactly call it an action movie either.
This isn't storming Normandy.
Yeah, no, it's not. Right. It's certainly more drama. I think that's a better classification. It doesn't perfectly fit in that box either, but it's a better fit.
Yeah. So I've got one of those things like a great decision of not really having opening credits. Like you got the just basically emphasizing that this is going to be an experience, not a I think no, I have not been in this kind of scenario, but I think it's more about like this is what it would be like and not the glory of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of stuff Nolan really needs to focus on, I guess, when it comes to the being theatric, it's like, all right, because I'm not like I'm a fan more of the screenwriters, I suppose, being the aspiring screenwriter. Like the script, the story. So it's like I get out to the movie theaters more than like I was there, like September was an exciting month, but it's more just for my genre cinema. Expendables, Saw X the next week. I know it's just supporting, but it's not like I've only seen like the last like 3 of the 4 last Saw movies in theaters, so 4 of the last 5, but that tells you I didn't see any of them before that in theaters.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm just saying that's just more me being nerdy, I suppose, than it is like cinema with a capital C.
Sure.
So I guess the only fault I'd say with the opening is, did we need the explanation of the premise typed out? This isn't Highlander where it's like
I think it helped to establish that context of like, here's they're trapped. It's a desperate situation and they're waiting for a rescue, and then it goes into the structure. I think the first few scenes kind of jump between the different viewpoints of The first one was The Mole, which is 1 week out from Rescue. Then we get to these guys on the boat, The Sea, which is 1 day out, and then the Tom Hardy in the plane.
The air 1 hour out, essentially. Right.
So I think it was good to kind of establish all of that context. Like, we're tracking 3 timelines here.
Well, that context works. I'm just saying it's kind of like, but from a history standpoint, this is something we should all. Well, I don't know as an American.
I'm not a history buff. One of my worst subjects in school, so I really didn't know anything about the situation before. Even after I saw it the first time, I didn't quite understand everything. I don't think. I'm just kind of a dummy when it comes to history. But having watched it a few times, getting ready to talk about it, I have a greater appreciation for it. So it's there for people like me.
Okay. All right. As I say, when I think of that stuff, I think science fiction and, as I say, Highlander. It's like So
it wasn't a Star Wars text crawl. It was a few sentences, I think.
Right, but but when I see a few sentences, that's more of Sean Connery narrating the text ahead of Highlander. Again, showing my nerd off there. So I did have a note that the story, I guess, kind of falls apart on a little bit of rewatches, because you just start nitpicking stuff, of course. Like Frenchie is not a surprise by after a first watch. So
well, the movie's pretty quiet. I think the first time through, everyone's pretty quiet, so it's not that weird that he's not talking. And then the scene where it's pointed out as odd, where maybe you first realize it is in that smaller boat later on, and then shortly after it's revealed, he's French. So I like that fine, even on rewatches.
Okay. It's a movie that should be watched. So share it with your friends and see their surprise, I suppose, when we find out that
might even appreciate it a little more second time around, because that he's kind of trying to hide that.
Right. Okay. So I don't. I guess we got our civilian characters. They're the 1 day out, correct?
So my
mom, right? Which is probably the reason Mom saw the movie. I shouldn't say her English history there. She just she'll go to. She's got quite the checklist of people she's seen on the West Side in London. Recently she just saw Ian McKellen perform a play. Her trip before that was Eddie Izzard doing a one-person show in regards to Great Expectations, which is something I thought, man, maybe I should see, or maybe I should go see the Book of Mormon.
Sure. So she's a fan of Mark Rylance? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, she was, and then the politics come into play. Okay.
I'm unfamiliar. Well, did he come out and say something, or?
Well, she's very conservative, so and she'll mock Brian Cox for being the narrator in McDonald's commercials while he's asking the British government to provide more money for the arts in the UK. You'll take money, but you won't give it to the arts, and it's like, for me, it's kind of like. Does. Well, I'm sure he does, but is he living comfortably, I guess? And that's kind of something my mom has just against the, you're living comfortably, why don't you give all your money to that? It's like, well, because everybody should be helping everybody. Sure. I kind of appreciate how European sports operate, in the sense that if you're basically, you got till you're 14 years old to see if you're a good footballer, and if you're not, you better take up acting if you want to be an entertainer. So, sure. And I really, really wish we would adapt a lot of that stuff in America. I say that as I, did a ridiculous. I'm getting old, I guess is what I'm saying, but did a ridiculous I won't get a chance to see my parents, to visit my parents and check on my mom after she got back from England. we're looking like at 2-3 weeks ahead. So it's like, when they're only an hour and a half away, it's kind of like, you know what? I'm going to go see a minor league hockey game, in which I love it just because of the just because of the passion expressed by the players. But it's kind of like, okay, this is 3 leagues away from the NHL. You guys probably have a crap per diem. It's
Sure.
like, maybe you should have studied. Just saying. So, and I shouldn't necessarily say that because, again, pro wrestler, trunk full of tights. Not letting go of my glory days, dare I say. But I mean, it just comes to a point where
lost me a little bit. We've wandered pretty far from the topic here.
I'm just saying, more of just we're on a rant about Mark Rylance, that being somebody like, oh, we got to invest in the arts, and being an American where we don't put any money into the arts, essentially. Because we keep telling kids that sports is the way to be a success. That was the rant.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, right. Some of that was in your head, I think, and not said out loud. But I see the connection now.
No, right. Yeah, no, I'm pretty good at usually drawing lines back. How did I get to this? But that's what podcasting
talking about Mark Rylance. We were talking about the citizens on the boat.
Right, exactly.
They're responding to the call.
Right. I don't know. Barry Keoghan is kind of an actor that annoys me, and it's not his fault. It's just the characters he gets.
He was an nasty little shit in The Green Knight, but he was good in this.
Which movie did you say it was?
The Green Knight. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't. I was thinking more of back to The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
That one I haven't seen. I haven't seen much of his stuff. Mostly Green Knight and The Eternals is what I've seen him in.
And I haven't seen The Eternals. I heard conflicting opinions. My couchman Andrew Teedy was saying, yeah, that's one to see. Should have worked better as a series, but that was his opinion.
Yeah, that's why I agree with that, and that's why the movie didn't work as well for me. Okay, that's again different subject.
You're right.
Maybe we should get the three of us on and talk about Marvel movies at some point.
Oh, I'm working towards that. As I don't know. Now that I'm planning on moving the podcast to Wednesdays, it's kind of like, well, it was fun to have the Marvel the MCU next Tuesday joke. But
sure.
So I guess my problem with civilians. You're right. My civilian stories is like, I appreciate Mark Rylance and his son in it. I think their story is pretty, but it's like, basically, this movie essentially has, I can't give you the number on the British forces lost, but we know they saved 400,000 essentially.
Yeah, they say 300,000 at the end, but I think that there were more. Plus some French.
Right, exactly. So I'm just saying, it's kind of like, how many did we lose? It's like, okay, we already had martyrs, so it's like, well, we just basically have Cillian Murphy knock Barry Keoghan down some stairs. It's like, did we need the civilian martyr, especially when Mark Rylance and his son, lost another son and a brother, essentially, as they describe.
Yeah, I think what it was doing was telling a couple different. It's sort of a microcosm of the war, right? So Barry Keoghan was just a kid that hadn't done much and wanted to help out. That's the whole reason he jumped on the boat. Because I was wondering about that myself. I was like, why did George get on the boat? And then he kind of talks later about how he never did anything, and felt bad about it. So he jumps on the boat to be helpful in this like important event. The war, and specifically, getting soldiers from Dunkirk. So I think it was kind of expressing that sentiment among the English people of wanting to help out, alongside the other two civilians, of course. But George specifically was, I don't know, it's just a more human, kind of very specific story. And then Cillian Murphy was someone that had, was shell shocked, was traumatized, and it was just sort of a tragic collision, I suppose, of those two characters.
Right. And I guess it does emphasize that everybody sacrificed for the British cause. But I think it's kind of like when we get to the ending, so spoiler alert, they get away from Dunkirk, they survive the Battle of Britain, America gets involved. Bye Jerry's.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It ends, I mean, the ending is brilliant, just, reading the Churchill's speech, we'll never surrender. But
that wasn't in this, was it?
I'm sorry?
Oh yeah, no, it was in the newspaper. It was in the newspaper.
Right, exactly.
Sorry,
yeah.
I spaced. Yeah.
Right. Which is a great expression of this is like I've watched a lot of, I watched a lot of sport back when I had cable, which it's like I watched a lot of sports talking heads, and you hear the concept, there's no such thing as a moral victory. You win or you lose. And
okay. I guess that's true in sports.
Right.
Certainly.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it's about again, I'd say being the professional wrestler, it's the storytelling element. It's like,
right.
If
that's more of an element in wrestling, right? The storytelling aspect of it.
Well, that's true, but it's like, all right, if you get if a team gets frequently beaten down by another team during the season, you gotta, that's a thing about, at least with baseball, is you play a team multiple times. You get to know the opponent. Yeah, they've dare I say, they've kicked your ass 75% of the time during the regular season. But then you get to the playoffs. You know your enemy, essentially.
Yeah.
So, you took your licks, but this is your chance. Did you learn from your mistakes? So there are moral victories, but it's essentially with Dunkirk, you have a bunch of soldiers who, they failed to kick the Germans' ass. Which I have to go back and regards and watch, read a little more history on this. It's like, so did the I don't know if I'll just say it, I don't know if the Brits were like, okay, so the Germans are going to be coming from the north in Belgium, and obviously they're going to be coming from the eastern border with France. That's a lot of space to lose, essentially. So
yeah,
and then you're
you mean like you want to look into the specific tactics of it of
right? How you end up cornered in on the just across the let's see, I'd say when I was in England, 1999 graduation gift, it's like it wasn't a complicated stories, rich people stories, I suppose. Give all my parents all the credit in the world for not raising me to act like a rich person. I just kind of could have come in handy to know. As I'm, in my single bed apartment. So it's kind of in a sense, it's just basically like, okay, we're over. The Channel trip may have been like, for me, not even going to Chicago. I live in Central Illinois. I can get to Chicago, St. Louis, Indianapolis, all in under 3 hours. So just to give you some scope. So how small the channel really is, how small the channel is, I suppose is what I'm saying. So, yeah, I mean, it's just but actually, like, it would be great to have John being the history major on, just because, again, the tactics element of it. Um, and there's so much stuff, you just don't get time to explain. Like, a day away, why are there only 3 fighters coming across?
Well, because they were conserving. They even say that at some point in the movie.
Yeah, but
only having one destroyer at a time. Same with the planes.
Yeah, but it's a blink and you miss it scenario. And then you come back to the end where, Air Force agent's out of his flight fatigue, his flight suit, and you got British servicemen. Where the hell were you?
Right.
So,
because to them they weren't around. Like, from their perspective,
right.
They just kind of abandoned them. But it was truly
exactly.
You're
right. You're playing a long game, and the entire ending where you have the guy acting. So I kind of, it's tough to get the actors straight when Harry Styles in the movie, obviously, but
Harry Styles, Finn Whitehead is the English guy we're followed from the beginning. The French guy, I don't know him.
Yeah,
there's also I want to rewind a little bit because you mentioned the line about conserving planes and boats. It's interesting. Nolan added Kenneth Branagh and James Darcy. Is that his name?
You're right.
The guy that played Jarvis in the Agent Carter show.
Right.
They were kind of there as kind of a Greek chorus to add details like that. It's why we keep cutting back to them on the pier and on the mole.
I think the
interesting
actor,
kind of bit of structure to it.
Yeah, I think the actor I'm thinking of is Tom Glynn Carney. He's the guy who's just all depressed when they finally get back home.
Oh, he's the son. He's yeah.
Oh no, he's
Mark
the son.
Rylance,
okay,
son.
All right, good. You're.
Oh, you mean the other pilot?
Not the other pilot. The
Collins.
No, Collins is all right. I'm talking about the
Harry Styles was the one that was sat on the train.
Sat on the train. That's who I thought. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's okay. So yeah,
got there eventually.
Right. Yeah, I'm just thrown off by I would say the main focus of is in the feature. I guess it'd be Fionn Whitehead.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
Finn. No, I'm gonna say Finn.
Right.
Finn.
Yeah. I don't understand.
Apologies
to
Mr. Whitehead. Don't forget your name wrong. I'm sure he's listening.
Oh no, I was calling Cillian Murphy Cillian for so long.
Is it Cillian?
Yes,
I know he's
it is.
like Irish. Okay, they have funny pronunciations sometimes. Okay.
No, I hate the letter C I hate the letter C in general. So, like,
it's tricky sometimes.
Like all it's there for is to add, like, the only sound it really makes that's important is this CH. Because anything else you can
S
replace it with a
yeah.
And that, you're right, exactly. Like G, I have far more respect for.
Yeah. Jumped ahead a little bit there because you jumped to the end talking about
right.
Harry Styles character.
Yeah. So,
what were you gonna say about that? He was sat on the train because he thought that all thing was gonna hate them.
Well, we were discussing
the
moral victory element. It's like,
and
then, I mean, we're really jumping ahead. But again, that's a statement. That's a statement about the movie, is the experience element of it. Like, you're living in it. That's the brilliance of the feature. Is you're there regardless of the 3 timelines. I mean, they end up working out perfectly. Just again to tell you,
they all meet up at the end. Yeah,
they all meet up at the end. But I'm just saying, you're there. Like keep everything in mind. You are here. Is what I love about this movie. And I can't say, I say that, and I can't say a lot of movies can accomplish that. The feeling of being there, which is like, goes back to Tenet. It's like, dude, I don't think I'm going to buy. I know in the trailer I see bullets going backwards. So I think you put me out of there.
Yeah, maybe a little too heady. Whereas this is a lot of like tight shots on people kind of living in this situation.
And then Nolan follows it up with Oppenheimer, which is all about reality. So
yeah, that I mean,
yeah, I have not seen Oppenheimer. I've only seen Barbie. I will get to Oppenheimer.
You didn't do the double feature? I did that.
No, I did. Oh, no, I didn't. I really need to, because I'm still I really need to, because I still say Barbie's the smartest movie I've seen this year.
It's pretty good. I'll tell you what's a better double feature is Oppenheimer and then Doctor Strangelove. Those are more directly connected in a way that's darkly fun.
Well, no, that's I don't like. Well, I guess just being being raised on British humor. Again, going back to my mom, and my older sister corrects me. No, Monty Python was on MTV, Russ, but it's like, my mom would basically say, "Well, if it's on public broadcasting, it's fine for my children." So, I'm a big Red Dwarf fan. Caught up with the space, British humor just being dry, and it's like matter of fact. And
right, you connecting to Doctor Strangelove being
right, exactly. Dark? I mean, yes, exactly. It's like, well, just dry humor. Anything can be funny is essentially
right,
unless you're my creative writing teacher from my second stint in JUCO, who told me death is never funny. It's like, well, that was So
I guess I could maybe see where they're coming from, but I don't know. The whole theme of Doctor Strangelove is kind of man creating technology that then destroys him, right? And writ large, it's basically the end of the world at the end of that. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen. No, I've seen Strangelove plenty of time. Qualifies for the podcast. I'll say that much.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, like, again, it's just kind of goes back to Kubrick was an expatriate, so he really, again, appreciates the English style of humor, and it can be seen, I'd say, most of Kubrick's features, even just so it's. So it's just fun when I go back and like, from Red Dwarf, Spaced, Black Books, all these British series, and then going back to, then you and then you bring it back and you think about your, I think a lot of it may have just been my literature focus in college. You realize, it's just very dry, nothing's off limits if you're smart enough about it. Like,
sure,
that's a common discussion. Like, you can't remake this movie today. And it's like, yes, you can. You just have to be very careful. You just have to make sure you hit it out of the park. You can't, like, it's tougher to make movies, but if you do it right, it's going to be far more satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I think we got there from talking about Oppenheimer. I don't know if you were saying anything else about that.
Right. Oh, no. I was saying, like, I got to see Oppenheimer going on Nolan being so great and nailing this experience. And then, his next movie was Tenet. And, nobody's going to relate to the experience. And then you go to Oppenheimer, where it's history. And the most important history of the 20th century, dare I say. Since and hell, we're still living with a guy with a crazy person in Russia who still has bombs. So, no, I wouldn't call Putin crazy. Not well. I wouldn't offer him many insults, like misguided, maybe, but just because, just in case I live in a college town. Who knows? There might be a Russian sleeper agent.
Sure. I was gonna say about Oppenheimer, it's history, but it's a pretty personal perspective, kind of following the man himself, and getting into his personal life a bit, and how that impacted the making the bomb and the fallout from that. No pun intended, but all the it was what was it called? The trials he went through after.
Right, he was
suspected him of being a communist.
A communist, yeah. So,
Yeah.
precise, yeah. So I mean, it's just something we. So yeah, no, it's kind of nuts. Like, I guess when I'm thinking back on Nolan's filmography, as I say, I had not seen The Prestige, but when I think of him trying to take those wild swings, I would say that Inception is the only one I'm there for. I would say Memento. I guess I'm just I've dealt with quite a lot of head trauma in my life. I've probably gotten at least a score of concussions myself, and it's like,
that's a lot.
Shoot, what? Right. But it's like, well, I mean, a lot of the score element comes from the, like, oh yeah, if you feel your brain, like you got the ringing in your ears, no, you've been concussed. So, looking back in my life, like, oh great. Or especially in my wrestling career, like I took a lot of bumps on the top of my head. So, and it's like, did they feel funny? Yep, it's a concussion. So, okay. But so I'm just saying, with head trauma, it's kind of like, yeah, I can kind of relate to Leonard.
Yeah,
and trying to wonder if his mind is where it's at or not. And Interstellar, I think, kind of plays along. Not Interstellar, sorry, Inception kind of plays along with that, since it's kind of like, well, what's reality? I don't know if you can say the same thing about Interstellar, which is science fiction. It is science fiction, and then it's kind of like the anti-Martian if I'm correct.
It gets a little. The Martian was very. It certainly tried very hard to be realistic, and I think it was praised for that aspect. Interstellar was a little more out there.
Well, I bring that up just because I thought Matt Damon's in Interstellar, and it was basically like him sending out a false SOS to try getting saved or something. Or maybe it wasn't Matt Damon.
Matt Damon was in it, and there was something like that. But it's been a while since I've seen that one.
Right.
So it's hard to comment on.
Again, it comes down to enjoying short movies, I suppose, and this movie's not even 100 minutes. That's a longer one, isn't? Right. Yeah. Exactly. So
that's hour 46. It doesn't pass that by too much.
Well, I'm just saying I wouldn't be talking about it if, and that's just a weird thing about credits today. Is like, credits back in the day, long credits were like solely for hand-drawn animated movies. And now there's so many people working in CG, they get their credits at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, and so this, like, I'm, watching this movie, and it's like, all right, does the narrative end at the before the 100-minute mark? And yes, it does. So yeah. I'm sorry that 90 for Chill, the podcast, discredits everybody. Like, I watch the credits of every movie. I'm there at the end of the, in the movie theater until it ends. Yeah. But it's like, did I really need to sit through all those credits? So,
no, you probably didn't
sorry that
much of it.
Right, but I'm just saying, sorry that 90 for Chill, the podcast, discredits every single Korean animator who worked on Puss in Boots.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of impossible to absorb all of that. I never really hang out in the theater watching the credits. Whenever I watch something at home, I usually am like enjoying the music enough that I'll just keep it rolling and look at Discord or something while that plays.
That's what what happened at during the Disney Renaissance with starting with The Little Mermaid is like, oh no, we want to hear Under the Sea again.
Yeah, I heard I want the songs.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I want to take a piss, so I'll wait for you. Yeah, so it's honestly, this is like my last note I've got is just like, was this a German failure or a British victory? It's like,
it was Germans winning the battle, but the British getting enough people out to ultimately win the war. Because, like you said, it was a moral victory for the British, I think, because of how many they managed to get out and how many citizens they managed to rally to help with that. And
right,
I think that's a lot of what this is about is kind of pulling together in that way.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's like the Germans could have just bombed the beaches.
They tried.
Well, they it still seemed pretty random.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I can't comment on the logistics and tactics there, but they certainly tried.
I mean, you had them all on the beach by that point, like not to say shooting fish in a barrel,
right?
But
they got some.
Yes.
We saw some of that in the opening scene, I think.
Right? No, they do the torpedo of the ship where Cillian Murphy, Frenchie.
Cillian wasn't on that ship. I don't think. I think he was on another, right? Or was he?
No,
he was on a lifeboat that they tried to swim to after.
Right. Yeah, I'm just saying it's more or less like. I mean, I understand reserving resources, but you have your enemy cornered.
Yeah,
like, I would have considered probably bombing Britain by that point. Like, I mean, and if you watch enough YouTube videos about World War II, Hitler was an idiot.
Sure.
Never.
Yeah, I don't mean to defend him as a tactician.
No, but I would go back to say, actually back to my trip to London, to England in '99. We did a trip up to Windsor Castle, and we passed through Oxford, so I got to see the campus there. And the tour guide was basically saying, like, Hitler loved Oxford, thought it was so beautiful, that's where he wanted to relocate, so he didn't bomb it.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's the kind of... Right, but I'm just saying that's the kind of arrogance, like... I
think he could win without that, I guess.
Right. I visited Paris, and people, when you compare it to London, Paris is all pretty much intact because, the French stereotype, dare I say. They didn't oh, shoot, we're not going to be able to beat the Germans. Let's just raise our hands. While
the surrender kind of meme.
Right, exactly. While in London, you get a lot of Victorian buildings still, and then you get this modern thing, and then they basically say, well, we're not going to tear anything down, but if it gets destroyed, we're going to build something new. And you're right. And with that said, London could look pretty tacky in that element. I don't know, maybe it's again being being a kid who's a Cubs fan, and you go up to Wrigleyville and everything is, at least until the new ownership got in there, it's like everything looks like old Chicago, what you would think Chicago looked like in, dare I say, Prohibition era. And now it's like, oh, I don't need all this gentrification. We didn't need it. The richer people lived up here anyhow. And, now it looks like, oh, great. Now it's just an eyesore so that's just something, history and what have you. I guess more of a discredit to Americans, dare I say, for like, oh, no, we can always do it better. And then then watching movies like I Heart Huckabees, it's like, or you could, well, no, like, oh no, you should do it. Politics, what have you. So I guess, I mean, I'm through my notes because this, again, it's an experience. This is a movie that I think everybody should watch if you can catch it at a 35 millimeter or 70 millimeter. Obviously, would be ideal.
I don't know if they're still showing it in theaters. I suppose they might for Memorial Day or whatever.
Veterans Day. I'd say it's more of just I haven't checked the schedules of the theaters are weird right now. Like I moved down to I moved down to Champaign-Urbana looking for from Peoria, Illinois, for a more liberal place. And we used to have like, we've got a nice theater called the Virginia Theater, which I think the Park District technically owns. So it's going to get its money. But there was a co-op theater called the Art Theater. And I guess it was the oldest co-op in the country. And it didn't make it past the pandemic because I guess they needed $25,000 for upgrades. And but they would show stuff like, they would show a lot of older movies, like
this isn't very old, but it's old. It's not in theaters anymore.
Right. Well, no, I mean, this is a 6-year-old movie, so there's obviously movie cinemas I think are probably making more money on nostalgia right now than they are on new movies, which is a sad state of affairs.
Maybe.
But
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see this maybe a little bit at Alamo Draft House. They often do
precisely
for
right. Well, I'm just saying there's Fathom events at certain theaters.
Yeah. There's that's more widespread. Alamo does their own sort of like they'll do like Saturday morning cartoon events where you can get like cereal and stuff and just all kinds of things.
Well, I think the Alamo Draft House, I thought that was a lot of Tarantino investment in there or something.
Did he invest in the company, you mean?
Yeah,
maybe.
No, I'm just wikiing him right now. 1997 in Austin, Texas. So that's Robert Rodriguez, obviously.
I don't know if he was involved in the company. But the point is that they're pretty commercial, but they are also somewhat art house in the sense that they will do foreign films and
right.
I saw like a showing of Oscar nominated shorts at Alamo Draft House once. They do all kinds of they might do like a Veterans Day showing of various military movies. I don't know if they would do this one. This one's kind of unique.
Well, right.
Maybe.
Well, I'm just looking through at least like, okay, history is going to be a little too much to nail down, but I'm looking like Alabama, Arkansas, California, obviously, Colorado, Illinois. They have one up in Wrigleyville, which again is where I like to hang out, in Chicago.
They have an Alamo Draft House there, you mean?
Yeah, right. So that's something I got to do before I got one of my jobs. I got close to over 70 hours of vacation time I got to use up. So I better get primarily Texas. So, and you're based out of there, close to Dallas, correct?
Yep.
All right. So, and never mind the concept of Alamo should just tell me, oh yeah, you're going to have a lot easier access to all that stuff.
Yeah, they're right. I mean, I'm not near the Alamo, but yeah, they spread here first, I think.
Right. Precisely.
Across the country.
Yeah.
I don't have much more. I have other notes on Dunkirk, but nothing to really lean into. I like it. I've watched it too many times now because I watched it once in theaters when it came out, a couple times the last time we were planning on talking about it, and then a couple more times today. So I'm good for a while, but I think it's well worth checking out. It's kind of slow, but also Nolan and I guess Hans Zimmer do a good job of kind of ratcheting tension in various scenes in different ways.
Oh no, this is the most subtle. I would. That's another thing to say about soundtrack. It's one of the most subtle soundtracks, honestly. It creeps up on you. It's never loud and boisterous. It's like So so I'm just gonna go and take a look. Won 3 Oscars of, well, let's see.
I did it. I always forget.
So right, getting it to load. All right,
accolades.
Awards. Okay, Oscar winner, best film editing, definitely. Nominee, music written for Zimmer, yep. Sound editing, definitely.
And sound mixing as well.
Yeah, well, let's see. See the two two wins, three more. Oh, three more nominations.
The Academy Awards. Yeah, Academy Awards were it won sound editing,
best sound mixing. Yeah. So no, so it recognized all the technical elements of it, and I guess again, just being the experience element, you're not going to get an acting award out of it, sadly. But,
there's not a whole lot to it. I enjoyed all the performances. I think everyone did great.
Oh yes, Rylands is excellent. Hardy is great, and there's just not enough dialogue for your people on the beach.
Yeah, you get the most out of Mark Rylance and company. I think a little bit with the guys on the beach too, but certainly less.
A little bit. But it doesn't really get too intense until we get into the boat. Hoping for the tide to come in. Yeah. And
then a little bit at the end.
Honestly, the boat scene is where we're at in the movie on my peripheral. It's like that might be the most intense sequence. Just, it's just target practice. Look at the placing and then
the grouping. Yeah, I started it when you did a little bit after, but yeah, that scene was pretty wild. I thought it was odd that it's the French guy that gets caught on like the chains or something whenever the boat's flooding later on.
Right,
sort of dies.
Yeah.
It's not a choice.
Well, I mean, then you're getting into the fictional element, I suppose. Like, why didn't we hear the stories about the French guys who snuck out and stole English apparel to get out of there? I don't know, it's like it kind of poses the question of bravery. It's like everybody wants to get out of there, but your assignment, dare I say.
I read a little bit about how they were, I think what again, kind of Kenneth Branagh and James Darcy said at one point that they were probably told to escort English and French out, but we need our army back. They were focusing on English.
No, we're not. So, we're right. Officially, we said we're taking everybody.
Yeah.
Realistically, we got to take it's our army we want.
So I guess that's why the French guy was there. And then once I kind of told that story, they're like, "All right, I guess we'll just kill him." But
well, it's not like he's coming.
And it was about Harry Styles feeling bad when they got back.
Right.
More English perspective.
And when you get to the ending, it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like difficult to get behind the guys who were feeling like, they, what did we accomplish type thing. It's kind of like especially like, oh, you saw that guy, he didn't even look at us. And I don't know, it's very hard. Right. It's kind of like I know you're expressing that, oh, we're down about what happened and nobody likes us because of what happened. And it's like, I mean, I guess as an American, we didn't really see any kind of nobody expected to be, until Vietnam, nobody expected to be like, no, we're going to discredit our troops, I guess. It's like, I think, I don't know about World War II protests and what have you. I mean, Ireland was its own state, was its own independent state by this point. So
I don't think it was that.
I'm just saying it's not like World War I, where the Irish were basically saying, well, if the Germans win, that might work in our favor. While
no, I think it was more that it was such a tremendous loss, like in terms of military loss, right?
Right,
they had to retreat.
I don't know. I think civilians would have been more like, okay, let's get ready for round two. I mean, they are the spectators.
Yeah, they were. That's what they showed at the end. But
Yeah.
the soldiers, apparently, if the story is to be believed here, didn't feel that way. They felt bad about having to run away, which is
Well,
I
no,
get
and I
that.
respect. I was I guess going back to my high school wrestling, I was like I didn't make the varsity team my freshman year, and we had a hell of a team, so I don't necessarily think down of myself. The next year, oh, I get to wrestle on the varsity team, but it was basically, yeah, you're here to fill up the holes in our lineup.
Sure.
So I got beat a lot. 9-25, I think was my record. To my credit, never pinned.
Okay.
But which I do get some praise for, like, oh, you never gave up all 6 points, just 5.
Mhm.
When the referee had to stop the match because you were getting your ass kicked too much. But I guess another controversy about this, and it came obviously in our, and I don't want to discredit the concept of politically correct society, but like we don't get much time to enjoy anything before somebody takes a piss out of it. So the historical accuracy. So I mean, I'm on Wiki. So obviously the Germans didn't paint their ships with their planes with the yellow until later in the war. So that's just an effect, so you can tell who's in the dogfight.
Yeah,
I
don't know if that's political. Right. Well, what'd you say? I don't know. That's just kind of a detail they got wrong.
Yeah, right. Well, no. Well, you say a detail they got wrong, and I said, well, no. When you, again, I think like, yes, it's a great experience, and that's how you would see a dogfight, not really knowing who's who, but to take the time to label it for us in the flight scenario.
Visual stuff like that is helpful.
You're right. Movie. Yeah, and I know that there were issues with the lack of credit towards the Indian and I think Canadian forces in this, because of the colonialism
involved.
Yeah. So let's see. I'm just got my. Yeah. So
it was pretty focused on the British and a little bit of the French experience.
Right.
I feel like that's reasonable to tighten up on that.
Yeah.
It wasn't meant to be so holistic.
No, it's a narrative, and there's only so much you can tell. Like,
right.
And maybe a lack of notable Indian actors, dare I say? Like, how much do we expect Dev Patel to do? I'm just being I'm just being humorous there, but so it's so all right, let me take some other looks around, see what's going on. So honestly, it's a nice little tight podcast. I mean, just but as I say, that I guess that's just it. Like, my thing about this movie is, like, this is an experience, and you really don't get enough of those, I'd say, in cinema. And like, let's just be real. Like, all right, a Marvel movie can look awesome, and I'm the type who will sit like 3 rows back, IMAX opening night on the Star Wars movie. So I want to be, engulfed, but there's so many Marvel movies, it's tough to catch them all in theaters. So
they're really cranking them out now.
Oh, exactly. So I still got to get to Guardians 3 and Quantumania, just because of those are Avenger movies essentially. So I mean, I hear nothing but great things about Shang-Chi, and again, differing opinions on how Eternals got it right or wrong. So But what I'm just saying is, like, we don't get a chance to go out to the movie theaters a lot, as much as, you know, we'd hoped to. I mean, I'm not dating anybody, so I don't have the excuse, I suppose, right now. Like,
Yeah.
oh, what are we gonna do this weekend? Oh shit, movie.
Yeah, it does help.
Yeah. So, but this is like, rarely do you get true experiences. Like, this would have been awesome in IMAX. And
Yeah.
you know, let's be forthcoming. Nothing is ever shot in IMAX because it's way too expensive. But
I think this was shot in 70 millimeter, which I don't know if that's the IMAX format or.
No, IMAX is something like nobody's shot an entire feature in IMAX. I think the biggest is 30 minutes. It's very
expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and let's just face it, I don't think there's going to be a demand for IMAX, sadly. I work in an electronics store that's not going to sell physical media after, at least when it comes to features and television, after the holiday season. So, no, we are stapled to our streaming services, sadly. But it is just great to see that there are reasons to go out to the cinema, and you're going to regret it if you don't. And I don't want to say I have a lot of regrets in my life, and usually I like to say they're more significant. But yeah, no, not seeing Dunkirk in theaters, that is going to be a regret.
I think Oppenheimer was a good one too to check out in theaters.
Right. I got shoot. It's like I got when. Oh, it is. I saw a sign driving back home from, like, picking out the right Walmart, dare I say, to get my groceries. You know, yeah, I'm going 10 minutes out of my way, but
sure.
I know they're gonna have those chicken wings I like. And I'm driving back past the. We only got 2 theaters in Champaign-Urbana, multiplexes, I should say. And yeah, so still advertising Oppenheimer and IMAX, and I know it comes out at least digitally on the 21st. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
no, Barbie's out,
which
digital.
is, I know. Oh no, it's out on physical. I can. Warner Brothers is missing out. Yeah, no, I it's tough because I just got like, I'm off. I got 2 weeknights off, but it's like, those are wrestling nights. So
yeah,
maybe if somebody's got a 9:30, I can go and check out Oppenheimer. But
yeah,
yep. So, well, gosh, thinking about ex-girlfriends. My ex-girlfriend, like, how's the podcast going and all that, and then it's like, you're only listening to the shorter episodes, aren't you? So. So I guess I can call Allie out on that. Are you here, Allie? But no, this is nice and concise, you know. It's honestly feels nice when we're not talking. Like, I'm so used to doing 2-hour podcasts about a 90-minute movie. It's like, you know, we weren't.
Yeah, it feels a little silly. I think I think our Men in Black one was a little bit longer.
Right.
I was a little more passionate about that one, to be honest.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No. And again, it goes back to experience versus, I say, fandom, you know? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I was a kid I was 17 when Men in Black came out, but it's like, you know, that's when you got 2 younger siblings, you know, that's going to be a part of my past. And this movie's only 6 years old, so
yeah, I mean, if you were a history nut, it might kind of scratch a similar itch, but yeah.
Yeah, no, we're just right. Well, all the things I would love to be, but
sure.
Oh, all right. So you already teased about your next project, and I hope it's a grand project. Anything else you want to plug? You know, anything? A place where people want to hear your voice. And I say, yeah.
I'm back on Letterboxd, but I'm not posting reviews not yet. Anyway, I might start writing some again.
All right, cool.
But I'm there.
All right.
sure it'll be in
Yep.
the. You can link it if you want.
Right.
But yeah, nothing else really.
Okay. All right. So that's S Martian, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same as on Discord.
Right.
Good reference. I might even have it linked there.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously you can with 90 Digital Podcast follow us on Twitter at CatBusRuss primarily. Despite that service, like, you know, I hope
eating
Elon.
itself.
Yeah, I hope Elon Musk realizes that you don't get money for a bankruptcy. Like nobody, like your debts are gone, yes, but there's no profit to it. So you're a sad loser.
But for now,
And,
you're still there.
Yeah, I'm still there. Yeah. So at CatBusRuss, Mastodon preferably, at Russ Stevens at mastodon.social. If you want to be on the podcast, send an email to russthebus07@gmail.com. That's RUSSTHEBUS07@gmail.com. Offer me a movie, a theme, a director, an actor. Just try to focus on sub 100-minute material. But if you follow the feed, you know about marathons. So you know I will make exceptions. So as long as you're willing to put the work in. So most recent marathon was The Thing, which is a movie that's only 2 minutes too long for this podcast. But, you know, hey, get to hear about other 6 body snatching movies. So it's cool there. Yeah, otherwise I need to thank my best friend Stacia Harden for keeping an eye on my ass the last 19 years, making sure I stay out of too much trouble. And I hope she's squeezing the ever undead shit out of my little buddy Skimbleshanks, the one-eared angel. So thank you for coming back on the show, Sam, and I look forward, keep an eye out on movies you want to chat about, and I'll be happy to hear about them.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you, and have yourselves a good week.
Can I hear a wahoo?